Hi. It's been a dramatic few days in the Easter narrative. A couple of days ago, Jesus told his disciples that he was going to be handed over to be crucified. Meanwhile, the chief priests and the elders, they've been plotting to arrest Jesus in some sort of sly way so as not to start a riot. Judas, one of the 12 disciples, well, he's done a deal to help the chief priests arrest Jesus. And then there's a Passover meal at which Jesus delivers a bombshell. One of his closest will betray him. Jesus, quietly it seems, calls Judas out. But nothing happens then. Instead, Jesus says that indeed all of the 12 will fall to pieces on account of what happens. Can you imagine it? Drama and division in the camp at a time when the disciples were hoping for, maybe even expecting for something quite different. Then, in the darkness of the night time, after the Passover meal on that Thursday, the mood quietens. Jesus and his disciples move about 1 kilometre from the city to a garden called Gethsemane. He wants them to stay awake with him through the night, but they keep falling asleep. We all probably know what happens that night. Now, the Bible took us to a garden at the very start of God's dealings with humankind. We're told that in the Garden of Eden, that was planted by God, it was a paradise with all kinds of trees that grew from the ground, trees beautiful to look at and good to eat. And of course the tree of life was there in the middle, next to the tree of knowledge of good and evil. This was a garden paradise, planted by God, nurtured by God, given to his creation. A garden of paradise that turned into a garden of downfall when humankind preferred the taunt of the serpent figure to God's guidance. We fundamentally changed our standing with God from one of fatherly closeness to one of cursed fracture. And then at the end of the Bible, we read of how the tree of life will be restored with 12 kinds of fruit and leaves of healing. Never again, we read, will anything be cursed. Never again will there be darkness. So all of history is kind of bookended by events of God that take place with trees and gardens. Trees and gardens at the start, a paradise. Trees and gardens at the end, light, healing, no more curse. And then in the middle we have this evening's garden scene. This is a garden of darkness, where dark events happen. Here is disappointment and loneliness. Here is betrayal. We know something else is going on, something that will find fulfillment in a couple of days. Again, in a garden, this time where a tomb is situated, where an empty tomb is found by the women. But for tonight, we're in that garden of darkness and despair. But as we think about how God has told the story of his pursuit of mankind, of humankind, how that story is punctuated by times in gardens with trees, then tonight we can know that even in the dark and despair, there's this arc of God's engagement with his creation that starts in paradise, ends in paradise, but embraces and works with darkness and despair. It speaks of God's forever love and care for his creation, in good times and in bad, for you and for me, for those we love and care for all humankind. And this is what we celebrate in the gardens of Easter, as it were. Tonight is darkness and despair, and knowing that God is still there with us. Sunday, light and life. But tonight, we know God is with us, even when it's dark and desperate.